Thank you for taking the time to watch this recording. The purpose of this video is to explain the middle school math course selection process. We will be using the secondary math course selection process for school year 2023-2024. This can be accessed through the QR code or the bit.ly you see on the screen. This document is also available on the lcps.org website under Teaching and Learning for Mathematics. For more information on high school courses beyond Algebra 2, watch the video on the bottom right of your screen using the bit.ly or the QR code. Our 5th grade students are going to need an initial math course selection. Teachers will be providing a recommendation for Math 6 or Foundations of Algebra based on data they have collected from observations, assessments students have taken, and student goals. To learn more about these courses, use the QR code or the bit.ly on the screen to view the standards and curriculum framework for each course. The table here illustrates the projected math pathways for current 5th grade students. Teachers will have two considerations when making a recommendation for students. The first consideration is the goals and desire to accelerate for students, and the second is based on student data. Teachers will use data from multiple sources in order to make a recommendation. When students are motivated to accelerate in mathematics themselves, it is proven they will be more successful. It is important to determine if they have a desire to accelerate in mathematics. It is also important to consider their goals for high school, thinking about if they are interested in taking AP Calculus or multivariable calculus. You might ask yourself why a student would take Foundations of Algebra versus Math 6. If a student is interested in enrolling in a magnet school such as AET, AOS, or TJ, they must enroll in Algebra 1 by 8th grade. A typical progression for a student to be enrolled in Algebra 1 in 8th grade would be Foundations of Algebra in 6th grade, Pre-Algebra in 7th grade, and Algebra 1 in 8th grade. When we think about student goals, we also must think about the data and information we have on the whole child in order to make an informed recommendation. Teachers can use all available data from their classroom in order to help inform their recommendation. Observations during instruction provide teachers with data that is not often able to be determined by a standardized assessment. During targeted small group instruction, teachers are able to learn if a student has an interest in mathematics. They are also able to learn if a student has a strong number sense. Strong number sense is defined as being able to think flexibly about numbers, not necessarily being able to memorize an algorithm or being fast at mathematics. Formative and summative assessments, coursework, digital content data, and other standardized assessments, such as MAP and SOL data, can be used to look at the whole child. In some circumstances, after considering a student's goal and data, a parent or guardian and/or student conference may be necessary to make the best decision for the student. Some students may be interested in accelerating 2 years in mathematics, skipping Math 6 and Foundations of Algebra, in order to access multivariable calculus in high school. Students who wish to enroll in pre-algebra in 6th grade will take an assessment and meet the qualifying score. This assessment will be available to all students who are interested in this mathematics pathway. Interested students will work with their 5th grade teacher to schedule taking this assessment. Students who receive a qualifying score on the assessment will be recommended by their 5th grade teacher for pre-algebra in 6th grade. Any student recommended by their 5th grade teacher may take the pre-algebra readiness assessment. In addition to those recommended students, any parent, guardian, or student who makes a request will have the opportunity to take the assessment. It should be noted that enrollment in pre-algebra in 6th grade is not required for applications to magnet schools. Students who take Foundations of Algebra in 6th grade will be eligible to apply to these magnet schools. The testing window for this assessment is January 31st, 2023 to February 15th, 2023. Parents and guardians should reach out to their 5th grade teacher to request for their student to take this assessment. If a student scores an 82% or higher on the pre-algebra readiness assessment, the recommendation for the student will be pre-algebra in 6th grade. Scores will be communicated to parents directly on February 24th. From January 24th through February 22nd, all teachers will be making course recommendations for all courses, not just math. On February 24th, schools will send a permission click to parents and guardians for them to acknowledge course recommendations or request a change. If parents request a change, school teams will look at all available data as well as the request to make decisions about courses. Algebra 1 in 6th grade is not recommended as the typical course progression in LCPS. However, LCPS acknowledges that acceleration is a need for certain students. Students who scored a 90% or higher on the pre-algebra readiness assessment can be referred to the gifted office for an acceleration evaluation and further testing to determine eligibility. For current Math 6 students, teachers will determine a course recommendation for each of their students. The recommendation will be for Foundations of Algebra or Pre-Algebra. To learn more about these courses, use the QR code or the bit.ly on the screen to view the standards and curriculum framework for each course. This table shown here illustrates the typical mathematics pathways for current Math 6 students. As we shared previously, teachers will use student goals and data to help make a recommendation. Once again, here are some questions to consider. As teachers make their recommendations, they use many different data points and observations. It is important for teachers to look at the whole child and remember that there are many possible indicators that show a student would be successful in accelerating to pre-algebra. For current Foundations of Algebra students, teachers will determine a course recommendation for pre-algebra or Algebra 1. To learn more about these courses, use the QR code or the bit.ly on the screen to view the standards and curriculum framework for each course. This image shows a typical progression for current 6th grade students in Foundations of Algebra on the left and a typical progression for current 7th graders in Foundations on the right. As we shared previously, teachers will use student goals and data to help make a recommendation. It is important to note that if a student is in 7th grade and they are interested in applying to a magnet school, they would need to enroll in Algebra 1 in 8th grade. As teachers are making their recommendations and using data, a MAP score of 235 may indicate readiness for algebra. It is important for teachers to look at the whole child and remember that the MAP score is one of many possible indicators when making recommendations. All students enrolled in pre-algebra will receive a course recommendation for Algebra 1. This image shows a typical progression for current 6th graders in pre-algebra on the left and a typical progression for current 7th graders in pre-algebra on the right. Current 6th grade and 7th grade students enrolled in Algebra 1 will receive a course recommendation for geometry. This image shows a typical progression for current 6th graders in Algebra 1 on the left and a typical progression for current 7th graders in algebra on the right. If you have additional questions that your school team is not able to answer by reading the secondary math course selection process for school year 2023-2024 document or watching this video, please reach out to the mathematics department using the email addresses shown on the screen here.